Hello everybody, it's me, Fee, White Zulu, and I want to welcome you to another chapter of, another chapter of Okavango Diary, and I hope you're enjoying these readings. I want to welcome you all, and if you are enjoying them, please share or press the like button or whatever people do if they want to. I'm sorry, I'm a bit Diomaka today. I haven't got any words in front of me to read, so I'm doing this off the cuff. However, this is a greeting to you all and a welcome, and I hope that you enjoy these chapters that I'm reading out. They go out twice a week, Wednesdays and Saturdays, if all goes well. And enjoy them, and thank you so much for listening to them. Share them around. Thank you, and goodbye.
Hands, and they have their own small plane in Germany with a private landing strip. He's also a pilot and does all his own flying when they travel to countries like Turkey and the UK. Our giant croc is still there and has taken up residence at the small jetty, exactly where the guests get on and off the boats. Now Kira and I have to throw sticks at him so he'll move off a little way. It isn't one thing, it's another. Fred is talking about firing the 12-bore into the water in the hope that the underwater shock waves will scare him off for a while. At lunchtime, a rather frantic young German arrived in one of our boats along with our guests. He's a microlight pilot who was flying over the delta, heading for Katraba, where the landing strip is still being built. He's using a flight guide which was written for him by the local bush pilots at the Duck Inn, and since the names are similar, had got Kugana mixed up with Katraba and landed on our strip. Or more likely, they'd played a trick on him. I'd put nothing past that lot. Now he needed directions and some extra fuel, two-stroke, which is basically petrol, mixed with two-stroke oil, and the same as our lawnmower uses, to get there. Fred huffed and puffed, but as usual, kindly gave him all he needed and lent him a boat and guide to get him back to his microlight aircraft. The German flew low in front of the bow as a thank you, so Fred could get some good photos. It looked so pretty, with a pink, yellow and green wing, a bit like the colours on sailboards. A really nice English couple came back from their Makoro trail this morning. They had loved it, and the only criticism he had was that his camp bed was about a foot too short. Since he's well over 6'5" tall, I'm not surprised. They'd arrived from Tsaro to take up the trail at our camp, but now his wife, Susie, has gone straight to bed with the most terrible tummy upset. They were due to go on another 2-day trail, leaving the next morning, but it was obvious that she wasn't going to be nearly well enough to make it when he left. We assured him that we would look after his wife, keep her in bed, and send her on in one of the boats to join the trail when she was feeling up to it. I kept ferrying bottled water to her and checking up on her every hour, as she was really sick. Finally, the following day, she asked for some bovril soup, and we knew that she was feeling better. That evening I offered her some steamed fish in white sauce, which I took to her on a tray. No mean feat if you have to carry a torch as well. I clamped the torch in the crook of my neck so it would shine on the path and I wouldn't trip over the roots that stuck up everywhere. All was well until a mosquito bit me on the ear, and I walked slap bang into a massive spider's web at the same time. But I didn't drop anything and got the supper safely to Misasa 6, the furthest one away from the communal areas. Our invalid polished off the fish as well as a little bit of mash and peas. The next day we sent her to join the Makoro Trail. When they got back, they were spending another night in Misasa 6. He was so full of cheek and winding everybody up that I finally asked what he does as a profession. "You'll never guess in a million years," was the reply. On further questioning, we discovered that he is Black Rod. On the opening of Parliament, which takes place on the very first day of every new parliamentary session, Black Rod presents himself to the Queen, dressed in his uniform, which consists of black shoes with black buckles, silk stockings, black breeches, and black coat. The rod is made of ebony. The present rod dates from 1883 and is emblazoned with the heraldic motto "Honi soit qui mal y pense," translated as "Shame be to him who evil thinks." It's 3.5 feet long, decorated with a gold lion and garter, and has a gold orb as a chivalric centerpiece. Her Majesty is in full regalia with her massive crown, crimson cloak lined with ermine, and carried by 2 young pages, as it's so heavy. When she gives him the signal, Black Rod walks in front of her down a 30-metre corridor to the closed doors of the House of Commons. He raises his ebony staff and bangs 3 times on the doors with it, calling out, "Open up in the name of Her Majesty the Queen." This tradition has been going on since the house was built, and one can picture the dignity of the ceremony, as they usually choose a very tall man and an ex-officer of the British Army. The couple was so grateful to Kira and me for all the care that we took over her well-being, that she gave us each a card and an invitation to stay if we were ever in England. After they had left in the boat, we looked at the cards to see that they were Sir Edward and Lady Jones. She has promised to send us a postcard of Black Rod in his outfit when she gets home. We've got really nice guests at the moment. A young German doctor specializing in urology, his sister, who is lecturing in catering and tourism at the University of Bulawayo, who has invited me to go and stay with her if I'm ever up that way. There's also an Italian couple who are both dentists and both very pleasant. Several of the guests have told me that they've seen carmine bee-eaters. The southern carmine bee-eater is one of the 7 bee-eaters that have been recorded in Botswana. They have a long, dark, down-curved bill and a lengthy tail with extended streamers. The dark colour of the bill carries through to a wide black eye stripe, separating the turquoise blue forehead and crown from their bright pinkish red, almost crimson plumage. The undertail plumage is also turquoise. These strikingly colourful birds usually migrate down from northern Africa countries at the start of the rainy season, although some are resident in Botswana. But I haven't seen one yet. They are truly a sign that spring is here. Friday, 30th of August. The camp is busy with guests flying out and more coming in. I have the BFH coming to take back the reins of camp manageress tomorrow, which means I have to hand over everything to her again. And at the same time, I have to learn the ropes of the hostess's job from Kira. I'm not at all looking forward to either prospect. I know that, according to the BFH, I will have done a dud job on running the kitchen and laundry for a month, despite the fact that the guests have been very happy with the standard of care, the excellence of the food and cleanliness of the place. What will enrage her even more is that the staff have been smiling, willing, and done their job really well. Pinching food is down to minimum, even though I can now come and type my daily diary and leave the kitchen to get on with preparations for supper for up to 20 people, when she would feel obliged to stand over the staff haranguing them. The original Kugana chef, a 50-ish, small, rather frail-looking woman called Gladys, came into the office yesterday to announce to Fred and me that she was nearly 6 months pregnant and they would need to recruit a new, experienced cook to replace her while she has her baby. We are both very concerned, as she already has about 9 other children, and it had seemed as though she was well past her childbearing years. Fred and I discussed with her about taking maternity leave earlier, as her job required that she spend many hours a day on her feet, standing and prepping the meals. Her ankles already look swollen, and apparently she's had problems with her numerous previous pregnancies. Kutsi, who'd followed me over from Tsaro, was now overdue her month's leave, but refused to return to Tsaro, and certainly wouldn't even contemplate working for the BFH. So she's going to resign from Heartless Safaris and find work in Maun and one of the many restaurants and hotels there, where all her new cordon bleu cooking skills would easily land her a job as a chef. She did say, though, that if I came back to either camp as relief manageress, she'd be happy to come back and work for me again. Sad as I am to see her go, I've typed her a glowing reference letter highlighting all her attributes. That would leave Kugana without a cook at all, and they would be down, as it was almost impossible to recruit staff here with the BFH in charge. This wasn't going to be either Fred's nor my problem. He was going on a month's leave back to Cape Town, where he lives, and I was staying on as hostess. It would be up to the BFH to try and either recruit a cook out of the existing kitchen staff or ask head office to try and find her one, neither of which would be an overnight task. I spent what little time I had left counting linen, soap, and mosquito repellent, knowing that she'd check every detail of my work looking for faults. I had also managed to do a spring clean on the shelves of the dry goods pantry, but had left it too late to defrost and clean out the deep freezers and fridges, and I knew I'd get a rocket for that. I would also have to relinquish the manageress's desk and the computer, even though she said she never used either, so would no longer be able to type my daily experiences. I was beginning to regret agreeing to carry on here, working with that woman. To my dismay, I discovered that the hostess's job requires a lot of arithmetic, my weakest point. Having had no schooling until I was 12, and then dodging maths at St. Anne's entirely by taking domestic science, an acceptable subject among the 6 I'd have to take for matric, I'd managed to pass my matric and get by after that, once calculators were invented. Even then, I couldn't be sure the answer was correct, as I literally cannot count past 10 and up to 20 if I take my sandals off. That still applies today. The hostess has to tally up the liquor bills for each guest, adding in any curios or clothing they had bought from the well-stocked gift shop, as well as working out the VAT. I would also be required to count in all the liquor and wine, as well as all the soft drinks and bottled water to stock the bar. My memory with the ME is really shoddy. I had a brief dry run with Kira at my side on the last night, taking wine orders, writing down the names of the guests who had purchased it, and if they didn't finish the bottle, I was to label it with their name, cork it, and return it to the fridge for the next meal. I very soon got in a muddle with that, despite Kira's help, and also couldn't add up the bills for the guests leaving the next day correctly. I began to panic. The other part I'd overlooked was that month, September, the early morning game drives would begin, with the hostess having to get up at 4:30 a.m. in order to wake the guests who wanted to go on those early morning drives at 5 o'clock, give them their coffee, muffins and rusks, before sending them out sleepy and protesting to the boats and vehicles. I was already struggling with getting up just before 7 in the morning, so I didn't know how I was going to cope with the extra long day. This was notwithstanding the fact that I was expected to join in and chase elephants out of the camp at night when it was required. It was all beginning to sound rather ominous. Saturday, 31st of August. I have spent a fitful and sleepless night, worried to the point of panic now about how I was going to cope with the BHS as well as my new job. Dear. Sorry, I've lost my place. Doesn't matter. I'll carry on. And take a second. Please forgive me. Saturday, 31st of August. I was aching from exhaustion and my hands trembled, but it hit me hard when I walked down to the bank to see Kira, Fred and Kutsi, all with their bags packed and ready to get into the boat. Kutsi had transformed from her yellow overalls, pinafore and duk to look stunningly beautiful, wearing a trendy pair of white shorts, pretty floral cotton top, and had her hair in braids with dainty little seashells and beads woven into them. She could have stepped off the cover of a fashion magazine. Fred gave me a bear hug and whispered into my ear, telling me not to worry about the BFH, to ignore her insults and keep my chin up. Kira, who'd worked with her before, gave me a hug and a kiss, and we wiped away our tears as she told me what fun it had been working with me. "We'll do this again soon," she said. And with that, my three friends stepped into the boat and, waving vigorously to me, slipped away out of sight. That's the end of chapter 9, folks. More to come. Goodbye. I would like to thank you all for watching and listening to my videos, and I hope you enjoy the story of my life growing up on a farm and being raised by the Zulu staff there. I have a website
www.whitezulubook.com, where you can find a lot more photographs and details of my other works. I have written 5 autobiographies in all, one of them a children's book where I put in all the bits I left out of White Zulu. I think you will find them very interesting, and they will all be released in video format in due course. Finally, I would like to thank John Moslane very much, who has spent years of his life putting aside every Friday afternoon in order to help me record and then upload these videos. Without his generosity and kindness, I couldn't do this at all. Thank you, John. Thank you so much again, all of you, for watching and commenting on my videos.